Well, Chris Ochambrenge is in Kinshasa and joins us now for the latest. Hi there, Chris. Chris, what is the latest on fighting in the eastern DRC?
Well, Hannah, fighting has intensified in Lubero territory in the east of the DRC. The Congolese troops and their allies, the Wazalendo fighters, have been battling the M23, who have stepped up the offensive in that region. And like you mentioned, the rebels have captured Matembe and Ali Bongo, and we have been told they're advancing to other areas. This has caused a massive displacement of civilians who are fleeing for their lives to other areas. And I spoke to a Congolese security analyst who said that the M23 rebels have stepped up the offensive to try and force the Congolese government to have direct talks with them. This was a key demand that the Rwandan government made in before the summit. The meeting between the presidents of Rwanda and DRC was supposed to happen in Angola. It failed because the DRC government said they cannot hold talks with the M23 rebel group, which they have designated as a terrorist organization. And 2 years ago, the Congolese government designated M23 as a rebel group. The parliament also passed a law prohibiting the government from having any kind of negotiation or integrating them into the Congolese army. They're saying that will send a very bad signal to the other rebel groups in eastern DRC that violence gets rewarded, and that is why they have stuck to their guns and said they will not allow to have any talks. So this has really frustrated the talks, the hopes that people had about a restoration of peace in eastern DRC. Hannah?
So when you talk about that loss of hope, Chris, and this intensity, this intensifying of violence in the DRC's east, how are local communities, Chris, dealing with this latest escalation? And how is the government responding?
So thousands of people, we've been told, are fleeing towards Butembo city. They're very frustrated about what's happening. We have seen some statements by some of the people who have been displaced saying that all they want is the government to find a solution to this conflict, because some of them, have been displaced multiple times. They fled other parts of Masisi, Ruchuru to that area. They thought they had got a sanctuary, but they've had to flee to other areas, and the conflict seems to have no end in sight. And so they want the government to find a solution to this. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Congolese government, has repeatedly said that they are fully aware of what's happening. They have a duty to resolve this crisis, and that they're going to do everything within their power. They're continuing to engage in discussions with the mediator of the Luanda process, the Angolan president, João Lourenço. They have been having talks with the United Nations, the African Union, and other regional blocs to ensure that peace is restored, they find a solution. But their troops will also, they said, their troops will also continue defending and protecting the territories of Congo from the rebels who are continuing to advance. And so it's a kind of a two-pronged approach. Diplomacy on the one hand and a military solution. But it's very sad that the people in eastern DRC are bearing the brunt of this suffering.